We're going to talk aliens, UFOs, ghosts, spiritual and paranormal, from all of the three moons, beyond your wildest dreams. Dead Tony. Nice.
TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark savage.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the TruthSeekah podcast. I'm your host, TruthSeekah, excited and delighted to be with you guys again for another episode, man. We're going to talk about all things spiritual. We're going to talk about how to set some goals, how to manifest some stuff. There's some things that you can do, some simple techniques and things like that. We're going to discuss it. It's going to be good. Make sure you guys stick around. Shout out to everybody listening live on all of the live streaming platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, wherever you listen. Shout out to you. Shout out to all of you guys listening on the podcasting apps as well. You guys are awesome. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everybody who is supporting my work, supporting this podcast, helping to bring this into fruition through Patreon. This is a listener-funded and supported show, so you guys mean the world to help see this vision and help me bring it to light. You guys are co-creators. Shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Disclaimer. Thank you for coming on, my friend. Matthew Abel. Jeffrey Walsh, thank you, my friend, for coming on, and thank you for the generous donation towards the homeless video. We'll talk about that in a second. Patricia Benjamin Ween, shout out to you, and Jean Gonzalez. Thank you guys for believing in the work and partnering with the visions. Right now, we're at an all-time high of Patreon supporters. I think we just hit 175. When we hit 200 patrons, the next goal, what we're going to do is we're going to do a Patreon-only concert, live stream concert, small, intimate setting for the patrons, whoever wants to show up. And it's going to be a concert where we just take requests, whatever songs you want to hear, no matter how old, how new, whatever verses or collabs or features that you want to hear, let me know and I'll piece those together in a set list, and we'll do our own concert with whatever songs you want to hear or see me perform. It'll be something intimate, something really cool when we hit 200 patrons, which will be next week. Shout out to you guys. If you'd like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music, guided meditations, Thursday Night School of the Mystics, which is the community aspect to what we're building here. Love it so much, and we're having so much fun. So check it out. It's on my Patreon. Also, if you have not had a chance to get it yet, my new book is here, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God Forward by Jordan Maxwell. Check that out at TruthSeekah.com as well. And for those of you who don't know, I just released the homeless blessing video yesterday, where, you know, we've been asking for donations for a couple months now. It was a an idea that I had I wanted to do, go find a random homeless person and just take them out and bless their socks off. So we raised $1,000 and literally did that. Went and found some guy out traveling the country, and he was just walking through, and he ended up passing us up, and we went and picked him up and took him out to eat and took him shopping and put a bunch of money in his hand and really made his day. So if you want to see that video, it is up on my YouTube. Make sure you guys check that out. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. I'm joined today by my guest, Dr. Ron Dalrymple. Brother, how are you?
How are you? TruthSeekah, great to meet you. My pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's
Thanks
good
for
to
having
have
us
you.
on.
Good to have you. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Looking at your work, man, and what you bring to the table, mastering the mind and manifestation and positivity. I'm looking at your catalog. Your catalog ranges. It looks like on Google it says you published your first piece in 1978.
Right. That's right. Yeah. First
And
book
so-
was about
Go ahead.
a new theory of the mind, which we call quantum field psychology now. So there's a little bit of delay in this, but it was a short monograph really that we put out to express the ideas. We've researched it ever since. Come out with a lot more works, books and films. So it's been a long journey. It started back when I was 17 years old at NASA. I was working at Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, and going to the University of Maryland in College Park, majoring in math and physics. I was lucky enough to get a job at NASA working as a research scientist. And when I was 19 years old, I started taking classes, not just in math and physics, but also in psychology. And one day, returning to my dorm, it was a cold November night, 1969. I asked a fateful question: could you express the major theories of psychology in terms of math and physics? I was hit by a tidal wave, a tsunami of ideas that almost knocked me over. If you saw the mind as an energy field, extending beyond the brain, it would explain a lot of phenomena that modern science could not explain. That's what you talk about in your book: ESP, intuition, creativity, manifestation by the mind, and so forth. So it fit all those different modalities. A whole lot of folks about this, and most scientists at NASA said, you should go live in California. But I didn't. I just kept working. I talked to a great guy there at NASA, Dr. Isidore Adler. I told him about the idea. He said, you know what? You should go research that. So I did. It's been 51 years now working on this project. So I guess I'm ancient. It's been over a half a century. So I finished up at Maryland, and I traveled the world for many years. I went to study different cultures, people, languages, and so forth, and philosophies. Then went back to grad school in 1980. So I wanted to put all the different fields together. So I got a doctorate in 1984. Was studying very intensely. I went to Maryland University, which was really a kind of a backstabbing experience for a lot of folks there. Very competitive. Most students were from Harvard, Dartmouth, Duke, and all that. Berkeley. It was the #1 program in the country, but they really made us pay for it, let me tell you. Anyway, I got out, spent many years working in different institutions and seeing patients. And by now I've seen about 22,000 patients. I wanted to put together what really worked in psychotherapy and what didn't. And then I went to a different modality. I started teaching college for Maryland overseas, look at all the theories again. And then in 2004, published a book called Quantum Field Psychology. We released that and went over like a lead balloon. Got out. It was all math and physics, and people in engineering, physics, math liked it. Psychologists did not. A lot of them don't like math. So I said, well, we need a different approach. So then I went to film school, and we started producing films. The most recent film, a documentary, is called The Endless Question, which came out just recently. It's a documentary of interviewing a lot of folks who understand these concepts. So really it's fascinating. They were putting out to the world, talking to fine folks like yourself and your audience. We've talked to a lot of great people I really love these podcasts because so many people tune into the same ideas, but in different ways. So it really helps me expand what we're doing to talk to so many other people in the same field of different points of view. I really appreciate your work. I think your book is great. I've been reading that, Spiritual Realm, a lot of great stuff in there. You take a lot of classic issues, like from the Bible and so forth, and spirituality, and make it very simple. I think you've done a great work to reach a lot of people with your ideas.
Thank you so
It's
much.
really a great pleasure to meet you and be here. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So your work, again, spanning from, at least starting on here, from 1978 to 2018, was your latest release. Do they all tie together? They seem like they're all like one cohesive work, like they all tie together.
Yes, they all are tied together. The first publication came out, as you mentioned, in 1978, which gave some of the key formulas of conversion of thought energy into matter, which goes back to Einstein's equations. It's a modification of those. So these are axiomatic theories. They're not empirical yet because that takes experimentation, which is very similar to what Einstein did. In 1905, he published the special theory of relativity, which was an axiomatic theory. And over the decades and century, really, people have researched it to find out what parts can be shown empirically, which means in a laboratory. But basically, we get down to three-dimensional science, which is difficult because we're talking about n dimensions, n-dimensional science, but they all tie together. The next book we came out with is now called 8 Days to Creative Power, which was released based upon research I did at Maryland to see how we can tap into the creative powers of mind. So using cognitive, emotional, and behavioral techniques allows a person in 8 days to hopefully expand their creativity or at least learn a lot about it. The next book is called The Inner Manager, which is a parable about a journey that a young man goes on to find out how to create his own business. But it really introduces him to the secrets of life. He meets a brilliant woman at an organization who runs this structured system where he moves up these different levels, learns how to use the powers of the mind. It's concentration, memory, programming your subconscious mind for success, and so forth. And at the end, he leaves really invigorated, inspired, ready to go out and conquer the world to help his family. So it really is a parable for the ideas that come later. It's an earlier form of quantum field psychology. And we next came out with a book called I Love You, God, which had to tap into your inner spiritual powers by making aphorisms every day, which activate a connection between conscious mind and your superconscious mind, what is within. And after that came the book, Quantum Field Psychology, which takes the theory for folks who have a background in, again, science, hard science, math, physics. Some medical doctors like it. But again, a lot of psychologists, social workers, and such folks just don't get it. So that's why we decided to start producing films. The first film is called Paradise Found 2015, which is about the discovery of quantum field psychology. Then came the very long journey of creating the documentary film. Took a long time to do this, not just get all the shots in, but also the editing. If you ever make a film, I have to warn you, I call it endless editing, which means it's just the process. You know, if you ever watch like a 2-hour film on TV or in the movies, you'll see these, what they call a scroll at the end, where it's hundreds of names. We only had a few people. We had like 6, 7 people to produce this.
Yeah.
So you can imagine it took forever. But it's finally out now. We have a lot of great people we work with. We're very excited to bring it out to the world. It reveals some really powerful, deep ideas, which shows a connection between science and spirit.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a bridge theory which Deepak Chopra and all these guys are asking for. And we're putting it out there as this is a bridge theory. It connects science and spirit, shows how to connect together. So it really is a fun thing. And we're trying to get it out to as many folks as possible. Yeah, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it sounds like, and you kind of hit the nail on the head for me, that you're bridging the science and spirituality together, almost revealing the secret behind the secret, the mechanics of how law of attraction works, the mechanics of using the mind, of how this stuff can be scientifically proven or explained to someone who definitely has that analytical mind or wants to see it on paper, even, versus like just stepping into a visualization. Like some of people, you're taking the woo-woo out of it, you know what I'm saying? But just showing that, listen, these formulas do work if you are able to train the mind in these ways. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Exactly. I think it's really good insight. We're trying to make it scientific. Like you said, take the woo-woo out of the secret, the law of attraction, and make it a lot more explainable in terms of modern day science. So it fits in a concept of as above, so below, that these spiritual ideas also fit various material world ideas, of course, in different ways, I'm sure, but everything in the universe is underlain by mathematics. So mathematics is the first science. It's all concepts. We get into applied math or physics, that's the second science. And then comes organic chemistry, physical chemistry, and so forth. Now, way down the line used to come psychology and the social sciences, because they're based upon basically statistical analysis. And the problem is the assumptions of the statistics often don't fit and do not work. But we can't tell from experimentation where they fall apart. So this gives us a whole new approach to look at in terms of hard science, although it is axiomatic. That means it's propositions, axioms, and lemmas to explain these phenomena. So it gives a whole new direction for science to move in, hopefully over the decades, maybe a century ahead. This stuff is hard to figure out and hard to test. But we do use topological mathematics and quantum physics and good old calculus to explain these phenomena. So it really is a fun thing. Yeah, so go ahead.
Does it come down to consciousness and just shifting your consciousness in the way that you view reality, and like you change your consciousness and it allows you to perceive things differently of what is possible, and there's just levels and levels and levels of kind of biohacking the mind kind of thing to unlock these deeper levels of consciousness to what reality is for you?
Yeah, so I think it really ties into concentration and learning how to, as you mentioned in your book, how to download from much higher sources. So we go into a deeper meditative state, tapping the alpha level, or even lower. Some folks can go deeper. And from that state, you visualize and put forth the energy to connect with, say, God or Christ or whoever it is you want to contact, their thought forms. And then you allow that to download into your mind. And what hits you can be phenomenal. So, for example, with quantum field psychology, I didn't really create that. I just discovered it. It already existed in the world of abstract thought as thought forms. And after concentrating so deeply for many years in math and physics, then applying that to psychology, I started finding all kinds of correlations and how it all made sense to express these ideas in the old mathematics going back thousands, who knows how many years. The recent developments in abstract math parallels that of abstract physics. There's a feedback loop here, and it keeps interrupting. But in any case, we found all these correlations, and it really is an amazing thing to see that we can now talk about the mind in terms of science, not just probabilities or statistics, which often fall down. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. So,
Do you want to jump?
yeah, with consciousness and stuff, it's like, you're just discovering this stuff. What do you think it is, though? So, I mean, some people would even call that the Akashic Records, right? We've heard it called that before. Are we connecting with God? Is it just the levels of consciousness, or just because you call it God, or you call it Jesus, or you call it the angels, or you call it Bashar, like it becomes real to you, like that becomes your frame of reference of consciousness, the structure that you've created, that you are able to tap into these heightened states of consciousness to receive this information? What do you think it is? Is it all of it and above, or what?
I think it's all that and above, that these are all conscious entities, and the conscious itself, at least for us in the material plane, is a form of energy, very complex energy field, or interactive systems of energy, which tie together, which also connect to much higher levels, and we can access those higher levels through concentration and meditation, and also by walking a higher path. What doesn't work with the law of attraction, if a person thinks a lot of negative thoughts, like angry, depressed, jealous thoughts, guilt, whatever, and then sits down one day and says, hey, I'm going to put out the vibe that I want a brand new Cadillac. It's probably not going to work because there's so much negative energy, which they have to clear out of the way. Or they might run into a Cadillac in the wrong way in an accident or something of that nature. So we have to train ourselves to walk that higher path, which we explain in the Inner Manager, as well as 8 Days of Creative Power, I Love You, God, and finally in Quantum Field Psychology, and of course the films. So we have to detoxify ourselves. We must detoxify the mind, the emotions, and the body, even our spiritual beliefs must be brought into concert with much higher levels. In other words, walking the higher path at all times and all ways allows those powers to flow through us. Otherwise, we block them. The negative energies block them. Yeah. So it's a process.
So what is some of the examples of walking that higher path? Is it some of the things that we understand, like we would call it a spiritual living from the heart up, right? Living from the heart, just love, intention, right? If you're intention with your conversations, you're intentional with your thoughts. They're not just random, like you are intentional about that new Cadillac that you want, and you're looking for it, you're putting it out there, you're looking for ads. There's a scientific, fact that like it sits in your subconscious versus being on the back burner, right? It's something that's there. It's going to be brought up in conversation. You'll notice them in movies, because you're intentional about bringing this to the forefront of your consciousness. So from a scientific explanation, it works 100%. It's not woo-woo. It's just kind of being intentional about everything. How much does that play into it? Like a lot?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. You do need to be intentional and also have integrity and be authentic. So you're always walking that path. So you maintain integrity in everything you do. So you always have respect and love towards other people as best as possible. That can be difficult at times, especially when you're driving in traffic with road rage and all that. Take some serious willpower. So we want to focus, like you said, on the heart and above. That's a great thing. We have to harmonize our emotions to be loving, joyful, harmonious as much as possible. It's difficult to do, but it makes you feel a lot better. It's much better for your health.
Yeah.
And well-being. It helps you stay young, energized, and so you sleep better.
Yeah.
You enjoy life much more. You keep your thoughts always focused on those higher concepts as best as possible. Helps us get through every day and succeed in what we're doing. It's what Paul called the constant renewing of our minds, which is what he practiced and taught other people. It takes constant renewing. The problem is we often get fixated on negative emotions, therefore negative beliefs, such as anger, resentment, fear. Now, a great example of that historically is Henry VIII. You ever seen The Tudors, which is an excellent series on Netflix. It's just all been, more isolated. The coronavirus thing, Netflix has really blown up in popularity, right? So if you watch Henry VIII, you see how he fixates on negative delusional thoughts. Delusion means false beliefs. And gets him in all kinds of trouble. He gets in wars, makes a lot of mistakes. He marries 6 women and is very destructive to them. So he's really fixated into a world of delusion. And a lot of us do that. We get stuck into a constellation of consciousness, which is often ruled by the ego, which, as you implied a moment ago, means the lower emotions. So anxiety, fear, depression, guilt, and so forth. And those tend to drive us because they lock into our thoughts. So thoughts and emotions tie together and create behaviors and momentums out into the universe of very destructive and negative nature. We have to reverse that process, because what we're doing and reprogram our thoughts, reprogram our emotions, and change how we think and feel. So we kind of re-spiritualize who we are. And as you mentioned in your book, we're all spiritual beings who live beyond the physical body. We're not just physical beings. We have to see beyond that. The old theories of psychology were predicated upon the idea that the brain is superordinate over the mind, that the brain rules. And many, I'm sorry to say, psychologists, psychiatrists, and so forth, tend to be atheists or agnostics. The idea being that when you die, the brain dies, and so the mind dies. We're saying the opposite, that the mind and, of course, spirit supersede the body and live beyond it. So when we pass out of the physical body, we go back to the world of spirit. There's much information on that, a lot of texts I've studied over the last many decades. I'm sure you have also.
Yeah. That's really good. And I think that the key thing to note is, like, I know we're given these rules, right, on how to manifest, on how to walk in abundance, how to attract things into your life. You're given these scientific rules, but it works even if you're not applying the rules, because that's what I like to call default. Many people are already great at manifesting things by default. They don't even know it. So if you're not conscious, if you're not walking in integrity, that was one of the things you mentioned, that you have to walk in integrity. And my mind goes straight to the devil's advocate. It's like, no, you have to walk in integrity to make these things manifest. And you can write it down and share it, because I do think it is a part of the rules. I do. But people are already manifesting. It's usually the egoic lower stuff, the doubt, the insecurity, the fear, the lack, the worry, the freak outs, the high blood pressure. Like, you're manifesting these things because you're not doing some of these different steps and things that you're giving. Walking in high vibrational frequencies, sending out good thoughts, being conscious, being intentional with relationships, with conversations, and with your goals, and writing them down and taking all of these steps. So if you're not doing these things that Ron's talking about here, you're still manifesting things, but you're manifesting just probably the overflow of what other people don't want, because they're doing the good work, and you're just by default, come whatever may. And most of us are like that until we understand that we are co-creators with God in this reality, and we have some power in what we say and what we do in our words when we create.
Exactly. I think that's very, very well said. That we always are projecting out our thoughts and emotions, our beliefs, whatever fixations we have, which are often contained in the subconscious mind, which means they were learned at earlier ages, and then we fixate upon those, thinking they are reality. So, again, with Henry VIII, he had certain beliefs that he was supreme. He was a monarch. No matter what he said was law. He then created the Church of England and said, I am also the head of the church. I'm tied to God. I speak for God. I'm a king, and I speak for God. And therefore, whatever I think, feel, or believe, I'm going to execute. And he executed many, many people. He acted upon his delusional beliefs, which are fixated upon his lower emotions. He was not in contact with a higher power, I would have to hypothesize, but instead he was fixated upon his lower emotions, which then led him down countless erroneous paths. That's what most of us do until we realize that we are co-creators and we must take control of the process. We must take responsibility to walk that higher path. We must realize we're creating our lives constantly. As you mentioned, we're putting out this energy, these thoughts and emotions, which interconnect with other people, that track back to us, often the wrong people, the wrong events, the wrong situations, and we create chaos. And many people, unfortunately, live their lifetime doing this, not realizing that we are self-creative beings. We're creating our life spaces, the field of energy around us, ourselves. We tend to blame other people. It's so much easier to blame someone else, project it upon this or that, instead of taking responsibility that we are the co-creators of that higher power. We elevate our thoughts and emotions to a higher level and take responsibility, then we can do incredible things. We can truly move a mountain with our thoughts, our emotions, and our intentionality. We can change the world, as many people have shown throughout history, especially when you organize a group of folks to work with you, as you're doing, as many of us are doing today, trying to wake the world up to these ideas. I think your book, again, says those concepts very well. Yeah.
Thank you. When it comes to the consciousness and creating your reality, what are your thoughts on generational curses? Because many of us in the religious idea, we would call these generational curses. Which are your generational defaults? Like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. And these can be destructive patterns that usually, if it's a curse, it's identifying with something negative versus a generational blessing, if you will. You inherit dad's company, which is stepping into money or whatever, but those who are coming from a generational curse. So these steps and things that we're talking about now, are these simple ways to break these generational curses and things?
Yes, generational curses can be very powerful to guide us and misdirect us in life. So another good example is back to Henry VIII, and he was trained by his parents, his grandparents, his forefathers, how to live, think, and feel. And all the people around him were born into that same kind of world where they believe in those delusional systems. And we grew up in a family that can be very confusing. Supposing you love your father, as you mentioned as an example, but he has all kinds of problems. Maybe he has alcohol problem, maybe he has PTSD, or whatever might be going on. Maybe your mother also has her own issues. So what happens is we get conditioned to live, think, and feel in a certain way. And it's hard to break out of that. Many of us go through a childhood, we learn certain patterns, ideas and beliefs, and feelings, and then spend the rest of our lives trying to break free of it. And that can be a real job. There can also be, as you said, generational blessings, or maybe you're given something which is a great benefit to you, but it comes with all kinds of baggage. Let's say you inherit that company. Let's say it's being run by somebody who's very manipulative and devious, trying to steal from you. So you have all these folks to take care of, and let's say keep that plant running, but you're being sabotaged on countless levels. Because lots of money attracts often certain egos seeking power and wealth and so forth. So you might have a lot to work through in dealing with what's been left you. So there's a lot of challenges that come along. Or let's say when you're young, you get married to somebody or involved with somebody who turns out not to be right for you. And so it leads to all kinds of carnage, emotional problems, breakups later, damage, who knows what. Children who are then caught in between a contentious relationship. So yes, many events can follow from that. So the earlier people start, understand these ideas through the educational system, both what you're doing, what we're doing, to teach folks at a young age, these powers are real, they're within us, they're scientific, they can be taught and learned, and we can break those old patterns. We're no longer enslaved by the past. We break free of those thought forms, become free, independent, self-creative beings, co-creators with a higher power, and aware of it. As you mentioned, when we're aware of that co-creation, gives us much more control over it and much more self-direction in life. Otherwise, we're controlled by the past, we're enslaved by our delusions, and we create chaos.
By default.
Yeah.
By default.
By default.
That's
Exactly.
what we call
By
it,
default. Exactly right. You're right.
Got a question here in the chat I want to run by you. This is from Chris Garner.
Sure.
And so he wants to know your thoughts on, we're speaking about consciousness. He wants you to know your thoughts on local or non-local consciousness.
Okay. Well, I think it occurs in both ways. That consciousness does occur inside of us, that we are conscious beings, and that it also extends beyond us. In other words, God, for example, is everywhere, is in all things, in all entities, but not all forms of consciousness are self-aware, like we are. And because we are self-aware and have the power of self-creation, we can rise beyond our current state and become much more illuminated beings. In fact, there's a great book that your followers might like to read. It's called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. First published in 1924, 1937, 1964. It's actually 6 volumes. The first volume, I think, is the most powerful. But an expedition to the Far East undertaken by some 13 scientists to study these metaphysical ideas. There were some people there who taught them some incredible stuff. If you read that book and some of our books, your books, so many books out there, that's one of the great classics. They also refer to the Siddhas. The Siddhas were a group in southeastern India which predate, allegedly, all other knowledge that we have. Even the Egyptians, the Greeks, they go back many, many thousands of years. They talk about these ideas in the Life and Teachings. And when we get into the ideas of consciousness, whether it's local or non-local, that ties into modern day physics. A lot of questions about who we are. Do we live in different dimensions? Well, certain books talk about that. Do we have certain energy levels around us? We're energy beings, of course, which occurs at different frequencies. So we have the physical body, we have the emotional body, we have the mental body, and we have higher spiritual bodies. We actually live in all these different frequencies simultaneously. So we actually live in what could be called, in mathematics, n-dimensional space, or what's called an n-tuple. So these are fascinating things to explore. We don't know a lot about these yet, but it's evolving. I think in the decades ahead, much will be discovered. In fact, Tesla, Nikola Tesla, the brilliant inventor, we mentioned him in our film in quite a few places, famously said that once we begin to study the electromagnetic aspects of the mind, that we'll make more progress in 10 years than we've made in all the centuries and millennia before us, which might take more than 10 years, but I think it's coming on many levels as people wake up to these ideas.
Yeah, I think we're stepping into that for sure. You know, even within the last 8 to 10 years already. You know, technology and maybe even the tearing down of old paradigms that we're seeing right now too. I think that's a cry from the earth as well, that people are realizing, hey, we messed up. You know, and we're seeing the error of our ways. And I mean, that's something natural that happens. If you want to get into the scientific behind that of who's funding it and how is the propaganda getting out, but it's something that, you know, all civilizations have always dealt with, and there's a lot of that going on. But I think that people are becoming more conscious for sure. I think that books like mine and your work is in your movies, and like we're programming consciousness. You know, we're trying to counter do the default stuff, working against the darkness, working against some of the lower natured stuff. But it's working, and people are waking up. Like, man, we're impacting people knowingly and unknowingly, which is interesting to look at the times that we're in. But it's even with that being intentional, that I know that I can do this talk. I know that I can put this book out. I know I can work on this film and know that it's going to impact as many people as it needs to. And every little piece helps.
Right.
The book, the movie, the talk, the podcast, all of it. And it all helps to shift the consciousness in a better
Exactly.
way.
I think it's a really important point. That there has been a lot of negativity, of course, on this planet for millennia. We see great toxification of the planet. There's a lot of political corruption. A lot of wars have been fought, and depressions created, the environment polluted by very corrupt beings. They're very powerful, I think, dark beings on this planet who do create all kinds of chaos and negativity. However, you might think about it in the sense that they are the adversaries that make us much stronger to rise above. In fact, you mentioned that in your book.
Yep.
I like that about Job.
And I like that you confirmed that, because there's not a lot of people who see that. But I'm glad we're on the same page with that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great about Job. The story told about him is that God threw at him all kinds of negativity, or perhaps the lower forces did. And God said, well, you get the strength. You can do it. So what he used was his faith, his concentration, his love, his resilience to overcome it all. And the point is, he came out at the end in a much higher state of consciousness. So Earth really is a school, a testing ground. It can be very difficult, but the more strongly you focus upon that faith, that power inside you, and have belief in the fact that, as you just mentioned, that you can overcome all, it gives you the power to do so. What we don't want to do is fall into negative thoughts, self-abnegating thoughts, low self-esteem, negative self-image, and so forth, which then pulls us down. It lowers our energy frequencies. Instead, we want to raise those frequencies and think victory. Victory is a very powerful way to think. Think victory in all situations. We are overcoming. Sorry, I'm getting feedback in. We're overcoming all these situations. Nothing will hold us back. We can do anything. We are victors. We are victorious over all life's challenges and difficulties. And every problem is only a challenge, and no challenge is a problem.
Yeah.
So we flip it around that we can do anything, especially together. And now with the internet and the virtual world, we can link up very powerful, positive ways to help the whole world connect at higher levels to bring forth great things. And like you said, it's happening. Beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Are you familiar
Yeah.
with the work of Jacques Fresco? Did you ever check him
I've heard
out?
of him. Tell me about him.
Okay, well, he headed up the Venus Project out of Venus, Florida. And so it's really, I guess, it's more of a socialist idea of us using technology and our own ingenuity to work for us versus kind of like needing people to be the oil of the machines. We use science, and we use things that serve us, and stop making tools that break. And again, like this, the idea of like, I don't need a shovel and my neighbor needs a shovel, and his neighbor needs a shovel. When I'm not using my shovel, he can use his. But he really broke down using technology to work for us. But I say that to mention the fact that I was just listening to a talk with him the other day where he said, he's passed on now, but he said, talking about problems, solving these problems, and how we get upset because we don't know how to solve them, and it's because we don't know how to use the technology or the object, whether it's some type of cell phone that you get, and you can't figure out how to work it, and throw it down or you hit it thinking that it's going to fix it. So it's not like that's going to fix it, unless maybe there's something loose in there, which we've seen some things fix when you hit it. But the majority of the time you're upset because you don't know how to work that. You kick the car, you hit the machine. But if you understood how it works, then you can actually get in there and figure out the way to solve it and to use it for your greatest good, or use it why it was intended. Because it's not working for you because you don't fully understand how to use it. Now that he's talking about with physical objects and technology, but the same works with spiritual principles and things as well. Getting overwhelmed with life. People, I talk about like the game of life. Like we're playing this game, but we've never read the rules. We don't know that there's rules and there's do's and don'ts and how to get ahead. There's things that you do and there's things that you don't do that will set you back and mess you up. So understanding the law of attraction or universal law or different things like that have been shown to us by many spiritual teachers and who've been open and honest about their experiences helps us to learn how to kind of tap into these technologies and figure out how to use them.
Yes, that's a very good point. In fact, I think it's a metaphor that applies across a broad spectrum. It can apply to the physical world and machinery and to spiritual concepts and also psychological. In fact, a lot of what I do is teach people psychology in terms of what works, what doesn't work. So it's really psycho-educational. It's not the old form of therapy where somebody lies on a couch. Very often, they tell you all their dreams, and well, we can't talk about that. But mostly we focus upon discussing principles that they can live by and succeed at, so they can conquer life, which then ties into spiritual principles. What we use is called cognitive behavior mod, which ties into the very principles that we discuss in quantum field psychology. They all fit together. Again, as above, so below. And many frustrations in life, you're right, come from not knowing the rules. What works and what doesn't work often comes from experience. You take somebody who's, say, very bright and give them a lot of years of experience, and hopefully they'll attain a lot more wisdom. But it takes work and the effort. So we must work at it. Like you say, the game of life, how do we conquer it? Well, what are our goals? What do we want to achieve? We just want to achieve material ends. We're probably not going to be happy because all the wealth in the world, all the materialism in the world will not make you happy. What will make us happy is developing love, wisdom, insight, kindness, and building beautiful relationships with other people. And developing our spiritual powers as well. You also mentioned in your book, we also have spiritual powers, which we do. We all have abilities. That goes back to the ancient story that Christ told. I think he actually repeated that from earlier examples of the Egyptians and probably from India. The idea that we all have talents within. We might have 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. But whatever we're given, we must develop those and bring those forth into the world, which then manifests many times over. If we take the one talent, like the one person did, and bury it in the soil, and then a year or two later, whatever, go back to the master and say, here it is, I still have it. And they say, oh, no, you missed the point. You didn't use this to develop, to create great things with, as you could have. So they missed the point. So we don't want to hold back our spiritual gifts. We want to release them to the world. And the more we share, the more comes back to us. That's another side aspect of sharing with other people. I'm sure you find the same thing. Doing your podcast,
yeah,
a lot of great folks listen and contact you back, like the one person just did, giving feedback. They can go out and share with other people. So you reach out, there's a huge pyramiding effect where you help one person, they help 10 more.
Yep.
Each one of them helps 10 more, and so on. So we keep creating these beautiful vibrations and thoughts to help transfer transform the planet to a much higher level. Yeah.
Yep.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, those waves and those, for me, it's also the symbol of the flower of life, all of the circles that are touching. And if you look in the center, there's one in the center that it just keeps expanding, expanding, and expanding because that one wave, that one ripple continues to go. And man, I love hearing testimonies and feedback from people who have started podcasts, who have left their dead-end jobs and pursued their destiny, a higher calling, something that fulfills them, and they wake up and they're excited to go to work. They're excited to do what they're doing for a living. I love those testimonies. And so if we just continue to do that and urge people and push them to do it and give them creative outlets and different ways to do it. And I think what you're doing is great, tapping into the creativity. You got to get creative on them, try something different, but then at the same time, don't try to reinvent the wheel, because find somebody who's doing it, link in with them, learn from them. And people are doing that. People are mimicking what we're doing. That works. And that's how we progress. That's how we learn. But stay away from it's not working. You see, when I do that, I'm spinning my wheels and nothing's working. There's no traction. Okay, yes, stay away from that. Do the things that I'm doing that's working. Do the things that Ron is doing that's working, and whoever else that you're listening to, and not just learning from your own mistakes, but learning from the mistakes of others as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's well said. That ties back into the idea of mindfulness, which is very popular now, which goes back to a book written years ago called Be Here Now, which was written by a Harvard professor, Richard Alpert, who got involved in Buddhism, went to India, and came back and created a movement in Boulder, Colorado, and some other areas, and taught this for many years. The idea of being focused right here, right now. It's also mindfulness. All goes back to, as well, 1879, when Wilhelm Wundt created the first laboratory of psychology in Leipzig, Germany. They did a similar type process, looking at thoughts, emotions, and behavior, how they all tie together. So these ideas keep cycling around again and again in different forms. Now, after Wundt came out with his work, it was followed by behaviorism, which was hardcore, three-dimensional science. Many fought to discover some of the laws and whatnot. And they made a lot of progress. They did some great stuff. But then it moved back to, well, how's that tied to consciousness? What's that mean on a higher level? So things keep shifting back and forth, or it's a spiral, no doubt, increasing and expanding as we learn more and more. But as we keep evolving and lifting other people up, they lift us up to create a huge interconnected world of consciousness. And I think the goal in life is to expand that state nationally. What we need to do on a universal level or a global level is get all these different governments to start functioning at a much higher level of thought as well. Get beyond tribal thinking. Tribal thinking still rules at that level. Many people are Machiavellian. They live by expediency, most ruthless means possible to win. We see many kings and queens throughout history, many presidents, premiers, whatever, who misuse their powers. This needs to be changed. They need to learn these higher principles because they are condemning themselves to unbelievably bad karma. And for what they do. If you're in a position of great power and you misuse that power, you will pay for it in ways you cannot begin to imagine through karmic debt. So we need to infuse these ideas in a much more global level. And that's why the educational part of it is so important. But how do you get them to listen? Because they're locked in what they think works in a very selfish and often predatory manner. So we need to break through, again, their constellation or that shell of consciousness or ego. But it's going to happen with time. With the media, the virtual aspects, they're going to have to, because they're being watched now a lot more closely. And they can't get away with as much.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we are, man. Ron, I know you got to go here. Thanks for hanging out with me, but I can't let you go without asking. You mentioned you worked for NASA. I got to ask you about aliens, man.
Yeah.
I got to ask you about aliens and Space Force on top of that, man. What do you think's going on? What do you know? What do you know?
NASA was NASA was a tremendous experience for me. I went there in 1967 as a 17-year-old kid, and I met Nobel Prize winners, great folks from around the world, really fascinating, brilliant people. A lot was going on there. A lot that goes on is secret. Certain areas of NASA, on many bases, are just as secret as top secret intelligence agencies. What they collect from space, for example, space photographs, are images, well, in those days, of Red China, Russia, North Korea, that sort of thing, which they keep secret for those reasons. But there are also many reports, I'm sure all your folks know, of UFOs being spotted by Air Force pilots, Navy pilots, Marine Corps pilots, Army pilots, astronauts. Many people have seen many fascinating phenomena which cannot be explained by our modern day technology. Now, there are different theories about that. One is that these are aliens, and I would guess, from my personal belief system, that yes, there are billions and billions of planets throughout the universe, and I'm sure many have life forms, some of whom can travel interplanetary, intergalactically. So the presumption that we're the only life form out there is ridiculous. But there's also the aspect that the U.S. government and other governments have developed some of these technologies on their own, have reverse engineered UFOs, for example, and have discovered anti-gravity. That makes perfect sense to me. If you can, after all, counteract the gravitational field of the Earth, that's all it takes to create a different opposing wave or set of waves, you have levitation. So I think it's been done, and it's probably being used now, probably throughout the universe. Now, there are stories that our first astronauts, going back to Neil Armstrong, who on July 20th, 1969, landed on the moon, that he and other astronauts traveled a short distance from the landing craft and saw on a cliff many different spacecraft from different species, whatever. They basically freaked out. They made reports back to NASA. They were suppressed, and that this created a huge controversy for many, many years. And there are some stories we were told don't come back for a while, which we didn't, as you'll know, until modern day we're starting things back up again. Now, I'm not giving, it's not an official NASA statement. I'm not speaking for them officially at all. I'm just saying what I've read and observed and studied over the years since then. But I do think it's feasible. It makes perfect sense to me, scientifically. I mean, why not? We've come so far so quickly. Just think, the Wright brothers first flew their airplane in 1903. 1903. That wasn't very long ago. Look at all we've accomplished since. The amazing things we've done. We've gone from that level in 117 years to where we are now. Just astounding. So once the human mind, infused with spiritual powers and insight and creativity, again, can conquer incredible goals. Now, when I was at NASA, I was really blessed because I learned some key concepts. Number one is to think in terms of idealism. Be very idealistic in your goals, but also very pragmatic. And at NASA, we had that spirit. There's a great spirit there, a community spirit of working together with people from all over the world who had the idealism and the pragmatism to make it happen. It really was astounding. We do that today as well. To unite the world with idealism and pragmatism to solve these current problems, to deal with global toxification, to end all wars, to end depressions, to end global thinking. And that's a big part of why we created these theories and these films, to show the world there's now a theory which links together all world religions and all modern day psychologies and Eastern and Western concepts with modern day physics, topological mathematics, and calculus in a whole new paradigm of thought known as quantum field psychology, and expressed in the film, The Endless Question. It shows people, no, we're not enemies. We're not different tribes. We're all one people. We're all united as one being, as one higher being. And this theory shows how that makes perfect sense. And if your folks go back and read, again, that book, The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, which I rediscovered, I read that years ago, started reading it again recently, I was blown away by all that it says. It's so powerful and very well put. In any case, we're all working towards those goals together. I think it's happening. I know you share the idealism and the pragmatism. I like the way you're asking your guest questions. I listened to some of your prior interviews. I think you did a great job of getting to the point. You kept saying, no, what about this? What about that? Because you wanted to know. Because you're the truth seeker, you know? And that's great. That's what we all need to be, seeking the truth, finding those higher paths to make these things work.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, please go on.
Ron, thank you for coming on the show, man. I enjoyed this talk. It turned out to be a really good conversation, man. So it's going to be one of my favorites for sure. Building with you here. Thank you for speaking highly of my book as well.
Thank you. And if I could just add that if they want to see the film, The Endless Question, it's free on Amazon Prime, free to Amazon Prime people. Also, our books are all on Amazon. So the first one is 8 Days to Creative Power. The second one is The Inner Manager. The third one is I Love You, God. And for our scientists out there, the last one is Quantum Field Psychology. So in any case, check those out. We hope it helps people. They're very, very economical. We keep the prices all super low. We get the word out there. I need to do the same thing.
For sure.
I've enjoyed talking to you very much.
Great. Chris Garner just shared the link in the chat for those of you who are watching live. The link is there. I will put the link in the show notes as well to your Amazon and your website. Ron, again, thanks for coming on, man. Really enjoyed it, brother.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, brother. I enjoyed it very much. Have a good one.
Many blessings.
Thank you. God bless you and all your listeners. Okay. Take care.
All right. We'll do it again, brother.
Okay. Thanks, man. Looking forward to it. That was great.
Contact me after this, and I'll send you the link and everything. But, yeah, contact me. I'd love to have you on again.
I'd love to. Just let me know anytime. Just send me an email. Don't go through Sherry. I'm not going to work with her too much longer, I don't think.
For sure.
Sherry Fraser.
Sure. Yeah. We're friends now.
Yeah,
we're friends now. We have direct access.
Yeah, we have direct access, my friends. So contact me anytime. You got my phone numbers right. You got my email.
Yep.
Now, I get about 500 emails a day. So on this phone here, this is my cell. When I'm calling you on, you can always text me on this, and I'll also send emails or call both numbers.
Gotcha.
Okay?
All right, Ron.
Okay, bye.
Be good.
Thank you,
Thank
my
you.
friend. Take care now. God
Peace,
bless.
peace. Shalom.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Ron Dalrymple, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff. Good stuff. Enjoyed it, man. Consciousness. It's what it comes back down to. Understand these principles, and I like, really interesting to talk and meet people who have a lot of similar philosophies organically. Come to these conclusions, I think, that a lot of us come to. You have to do some studying. You have to have been around the block a little bit, and you start making an assessment. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, well, you say this and you say this, but this is what you do. And you start putting things together, and eventually you end up in a place where you're like, okay, yeah, this is true. This is true. It doesn't matter what name you give it. This is truth. The truth don't give a damn what name you put on it. Well, yes, he does. Jesus cares what name. That's not his name. I got friends who argue up and down that that's not his name, and they refuse to use that name. They call him Yeshua or the Spirit of Truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's just one aspect. But all of the different aspects of truth, right? There's so many. Syncretism, for me, not as a religion, but as comparative theology, has really changed my life. And I think that that's a lot of what Ron was talking about. Talking about the different teachers and the different religions who are saying the same thing. And they say, the Christians will try to get you because they're like, are you saying that all paths lead to God? First of all, I've never walked all paths. I don't know. I've never been a devout Muslim. I don't know where it leads. We have to that's why we interview Muslims, or whoever. I don't know if I think I have interviewed Muslims, but you know what I'm saying? You find out the truth because you got to ask questions. And the problem we face and we fall into is when people are giving you answers and speaking on things that they don't know about. And maybe they've had a bad encounter with that thing that they're speaking on. So they're going to give you a negative or a biased opinion. There was a comment on my Kundalini video today that I read, and the comment was like, it was given this long statement of the different characteristics of what the Holy Spirit was and what the Kundalini was, and it was saying why they're different, and this is why it's different, and this is why it's different, and it sounded pretty good until like if you read when you read it, you can tell that the person was still biased as they were typing. Like they wasn't writing that from a unbiased standpoint, an objective standpoint. They were writing it biased, that I want to prove to you that even with these characteristics and this perception that the Kundalini was bad and the Holy Spirit was good. But the interesting thing was, as I was reading it, I could tell that because there was just a couple words here and be careful and deceptive and those kind of words. You can tell. But the bigger thing was that the fact that some of the characteristics that they put for the Holy Spirit, they could be vice versa. If you change the names out that the person wrote, and it gave a good 2 paragraphs with this, and I read it, and they could be interchanged. Like someone could, insert this here. Same thing with anything. Again, we talk about religion and people who have came out of Christianity, or people who have come out of any religion that they've had a bad experience with. They're going to do a testimonial on that religion, why I left Christianity and became spiritual, or why I left the spiritual movement and became a Christian, why I left Mormonism and became Jehovah's Witness, why I left Jehovah's Witness and became a Mormon. And these people are going to give you their testimony. That's not truth. That's their truth. That's their experience. And so instead of looking at the micro, which is your truth, you have to step back. You have to step back and look at the macro and understand that other people, you got to listen to other people. You don't just us four and no more. We suffer from that. We only hang around people or walk with people who have our same, ideologies in mind. And when anybody challenges it, we demonize them or we kick them out, kick them to the curb because they believe something different or don't agree with us. Listen, long suffering is a fruit of the Spirit. You better suffer with somebody long. We're not going to agree with everyone on anything. Me and my wife don't agree on everything. So come on, man. I'm going to agree with some random internet person, on everything. Another pastor on everything. Somebody who's given their life to study philosophy on everything. I've given my life to study it too, but we've got different opinions and outcomes and experiences. But it's about bringing all that to the table. And the Bible says, come together, let us reason. Can two walk together lest they agree? Let's find what we agree on and build on that. Your truth is going to be questioned. The stuff that you bring it to the table, you have to be able to question it. You have to be able to laugh at it because it is silly. All of this is silly. We have to be able to laugh at it. If you don't, you're going to drive yourself mad. You're going to drive yourself mad. I'm going to read some of these questions. There's some comments and questions coming through. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us. Mary Ann says, thank you for this talk. If someone is always feeling drained from being with others? What is the best way to heal from this? I mean, obviously that it could be a couple things. One that just us as humans now, we have to deal with is overstimulation. The mind is always going. I don't do a lot of physical work anymore, but I do a lot of mental work, a lot of learning, a lot of getting stuff out, trying to write it down, watching television, looking on my cell phone, answering emails, maybe gaming, like all these, this is stimuli. Boom, notification, got to respond. So this is constant stimuli, and that will drain you. You got to unplug. And that's where spirituality comes in. That's where grounding comes in. So there could be that. If it's that type of overstimulation, that will drain you for sure. Do veg out. Whatever is good for you to veg out, whether it is putting a Netflix show on, laying back, chilling. No, something where you don't have to like really problem solve or take in and retain a lot of info. You can just veg out. So that really helps. But when it's coming from other people's energy, being around their energy, even their problems, even hearing all of their stuff, that's gonna overwhelm you. Being empathic, you can leave and pick up on that stuff. So you want to make sure you release it. We all got to do that. I mean, probably more than we do. Even those who are mindful of releasing other people's energy or grounding yourself. Those who do it often probably don't do it enough. And you find yourself very tired. You find yourself with a migraine. You find yourself not being able to hold your peace. It's because you're picking up on these other energies on and around people, because they're personas. They are thought forms and strongholds and minds, and it's overwhelming. So you got to clear. So again, that's where spiritual practice comes in. On Thursday nights, I like to do breath work. We breathe through it. The breath is the essence of the Holy Spirit, and just breathing in, conscious connected breathing. Even now I've been talking a lot, so there's a lot of shallow breathing. Let's just take that deep breath in. That conscious of that breath, man. That's why even counselors and therapists will tell you, listen, if you're overwhelmed, step away, take that breath. The breath is powerful. Focus on the breathing. Focus on the breath. It's huge. So breathing and grounding and combining the two, literally grounding with your feet on the ground. Take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground, sit outside, burn some incense, burn some sage, whatever. Again, these are items, and these are symbols that connect our consciousness to different things. There's a lot of debate and a lot of condemnation when it comes to sage. Sage doesn't work, and witches use sage, and sage. Listen, when you burn that sage, if your consciousness links to, when I burn this sage, all invading negative entities subside, and that's where your object of faith is. Guess what? Boom, it becomes real to you, baby. When you burn that sage, bye demons, be gone. Boom. You're not really casting out demons. You're just smoking them out for. No, this is a consciousness game, baby. Have you been listening to this conversation? It's about consciousness. You've been listening to the past episodes we've been doing. Structure. You need a foundation. You need structure. You need players. You need saviors. You need, something to connect with. Christ, God. Some people are asking, which God is this? Is this the God of the Bible, or is it the universal? Same thing. The brother who was just talking on here said all is God. Everything. He even talking about the demons. Don't be so judgmental on you know what I'm saying, the lower negative vibrations. They're sent here for a reason. They have a job. They're just messengers. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Good stuff. Listen, it works. If it works for you, some of you have ascended and don't need any. You don't need sage. I can just send out the thought wave and it just destroys all negative entities. I can take a breath and I'm connected with the Holy Spirit. People breathe every day and they're unconnected. So a conscious connected breath, boom, come on, man, versus your unconscious disconnected breath. Peace, release. I'm breathing in the peace of God. Are you really? Yep. If I believe it, I receive it. That's my truth. Can't tell me no different. It works. That's why I won't question you. Hey, listen, if it's working, I want to explore it. What's working for you, man? Let's get on the podcast and talk about it. How you holding your stuff together? The world's going to hell in a handbasket. How are you maintaining? Oh, you ain't? You can be. You definitely can be. You can hold your stuff together. You can maintain. You can be prosperous. Listen, I don't know what it is. And it's not me, but you know, things are going good, man. I'm not affected by the economy. I'm not affected by outside forces. I'm not affected. I'm connected to something that is stable. The economy, the government that I follow is stable, and it's upon his shoulders. So that's not swayed. It's a solid, firm foundation. You need a foundation. I don't care what your foundation is. I'll invite you to mine, which is Christ consciousness. It is a solid rock. It is a sure foundation. It works. It's working for a lot of people. For many people, it don't work. They've been taught wrong. It's not working. They're judgmental. They're pooping on everything. They're calling names. They're killing their wounded. They're debating. They're fighting. But even that works for them because that's just the level that they're in, right? The debating, the fighting, the name calling. It's working for them. That's what they want. They created it. Boom. The modality, the foundation works. But you got to pick one. Have a connection. Everything is holy. Everything is sacred. What do you think the Holy Spirit means? It means set apart. Set apart as holy. Looking at all life as holy. Because it is. And once you have to learn to see that. If you can't see that, then nothing has meaning. Or maybe just Jesus has meaning. Your brother don't have meaning. Your mother don't have meaning. Only Jesus. You know, and so it's, again, expanding the consciousness, being able to see God in all and through all. You shift. You learn. You live. You grow. You try things. That's what it's about. It is what it is about. And so I want to kind of, I'm reading so many questions here. It's so funny. Like most of it, I guess y'all were just soaking it up when the guest was on, but now there's a bunch of comments. Mary Ann says, I'm going to meditate and breathe in my backyard now. Love connecting with the earth. For sure. You know, there's different modalities. Burn some sage. I like hape. I use rape, especially for grounding. You know, that's really good. There's different ways to do it. There's a breath. There's prayers. I have meditations for grounding. There's a bunch of really cool things. But find what works for you and try some of that. I want to speak on, too, just a little background info for those of you who have watched the homeless video. And if you haven't, go watch the video. We shot it day before yesterday, and I edited it yesterday. It had a great time. We had a great time. It was something that I put out there several months ago. Actually, I made the video 19 weeks ago. Time flies. Did the donation, put it out there, say, hey, if you guys want to donate, I want to go out and do a video where we're just blessing people. A homeless person. I don't have the money to do it. Here's the link. If you would like to see it, donate. Boom, 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 boom. I just shared it a couple times. People started donating. We raised like $1,000 really fast, and that was the budget. And we went out and did it. And it's already encouraging people to go out and do the same. But a little bit of background on that. The guy that we picked up, the interesting thing is, he didn't say, man, he didn't say more than, hold on. He didn't say more than 20 words to us. And, so, you know, a lot of the videos you see, they're like, oh man, thank you for the money, man. He didn't do that. He's a man of few words. Thank you for the haircut, Allie. Oh my God, it looks great. He didn't do that. You know, Allie showed up with us. She's in chat. Shout out to Allie. Allie showed up and cut his hair, and got to meet him and be a part of the video and everything. And thank you. But he didn't do that. But I tell you what was worth more than 1,000 words was his smile. The smile that he had on his face. You don't know when the last time that guy smiled was. You don't know when the last time somebody just went above and beyond for somebody. I mean, you look at your own life. When's the last time you smiled? When's the last time somebody went above and beyond for you? Let alone a homeless man on a journey, walking down the interstate. Just a random, hey, pick up. Hey, wow. These people picked me up and took me on a shopping spree. And took me to eat real good and had some good. We tried to get him to talk. We just connected with him. When's the last time somebody connected with him? And there was a veil there. We got through the veil. But there was a lot of stuff going on. Allie says his smile. I think he was angelic. Real talk. His vibes were calm. I want to be honest with you guys. Like he and I'll just say this. So he was talking to himself. A lot of homeless people, a lot of people with whether it's mental issues or people are conscious. That's how they hold this. Again, what's working for you to hold your stuff together? Talking to myself. I was trying to listen to him because we're picking him up, and while I'm sitting next to him in the vehicle, he's talking to himself. He's whispering to himself, and he's doing this. He's pointing up, and he's talking to himself. Oh, God, and he's pointing at me while I'm driving. This isn't on camera, but I'm driving, and he's like doing this, and hey, right there, that's him. Yeah. I don't know if he's talking to God. I don't know if he's plotting on killing me. I don't know what's going on. But the guy was talking to himself. We take him to Walmart. He's walking through Walmart. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm in Walmart. I kept hearing Walmart under his breath. Walmart. I'm just in Walmart with these guys. Oh, my God. I don't know if he was on drugs. I don't know if he was shot out. I don't know if he was praying. I don't know if he's talking to somebody walking with him in the spirit that we couldn't see. I don't know. But I do know that it whatever it was helping him to hold his stuff together. Like I can tell you many times I've had to be in situations and pray under my breath, Lord Jesus, give me your peace right now. I need your peace. I don't know what he was saying. It was hard to, but it was strange. He was doing a lot of this, a lot of like weird little symbols and pointing and talking. But the weird thing was when Justin would ask him a question, he would say, and Justin would say, hey man, what's going on? And he would immediately answer Justin. On cue. He would cut that conversation off and he'd immediately, oh yeah, man, thank you. Yes, he would say a couple words. Very interesting fellow. Was he an angel for us? We definitely were angels for him. We were messengers. We showed up with a blessing out of nowhere. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again because people are already given. There's a link there to give to this for people who wanted to see another video. And people have already, I had a brother yesterday gave $300, One thing I did know is it didn't take $1,000 because we blessed him with $400, like just cash money. But I was going to buy him more nights, stay in the hotel and stuff like that. But he didn't, he was traveling through. So, but yeah, man, just little things like that to encourage people, to bless somebody's life. And I let them know again at the end, look, it wasn't me. I don't have $1,000 to give you. But a lot of people who wanted to see this happen gave, and people continue to give. So we're going to do more. But yeah, just a little background on that, man. Maybe me and Justin will do a interview or just a little video where we kind of go into detail. So in the video, we were talking a lot, and Justin was talking a lot, doing commentary and stuff while he was recording. And it was really because the guy wouldn't talk. We would ask him questions and he would answer with one word, and maybe he was running from something. I don't know his story. But most of the videos, they're like, thank you, man. Oh, $100. Oh, my God. They'll start crying. I didn't know what to expect. But the guy was, his smile, though. If you see his smile, after Allie cut his hair, if you see his smile on that bed, and then you see his smile when we did the walkout and filmed the camera going up and his new clothes and his new shoes and his haircut and a fresh shower, and you see his smile, it's worth it. It's worth it. Bless him. We told him he got to pay it forward. Do something good for somebody else, man. Got you. You and people, like, it's not about debate. Well, did he get off the streets? Hope he uses the money for something good. Hope he don't buy alcohol. What do you think we were going to do with it? What were you going to do with it? Buy alcohol? He's probably going to buy crack. Listen, that's between him and God. That's between him and his Father. If you want to get off the street, if you're trying to get a job, listen, you got $400 and a new couple pairs of clothes, good food. You can get you a hotel, get him a bus ticket to go to California. That's where he was going. Like, we do that a lot, and we probably withhold blessings, not even just for homeless people, but for other people. We're projecting on them. You don't know what that man's going to do. But you bless them, and you can't let that stop you from giving. We do that a lot, trying to hold on to stuff, and we miss blessings because we're projecting on the people our own fears or what I would do. I heard a comedian one time was like talking about giving somebody some money. It was in a song. It was like, I was going to give this guy some money, and some guy said, hey man, don't give that guy that money. He's just going to buy, he's going to spend it on beer and hookers. Don't give it to him. And the dude says, look, that's what I'm going to spend it on. Like, come on. Why? Don't project on these people, man. And yeah, good shout out to Allie. It was awesome to see you in your element, my friend, and doing your thing. And we're going to do it again very soon, for sure. We're already getting donations. And I hope everybody's blessed, man. I hope people are encouraged from the words and from the video. There's even more reasons why I did it. We talked about it on here. Like, the reason I wanted to do it, people will say, like, you're doing that to be seen. You're doing that you're not supposed to let people know what you're doing, not supposed to film it. You take your blessings. Guess what? He didn't care. He don't care if you film it or not. Long you did it, right? I wouldn't care. If somebody wants to stop on side of the road and give me $500 or $1,000 and film me, hey, more power to you. Peace. Shalom. My name's TruthSeekah. Follow me on YouTube. Film it. Do what you want to do, as long as it happen. So again, with that, it's just to motivate people to do the same. And we didn't go into a lot of detail in the video about that, but it really is to let your good deeds shine before all men, that they might glorify your Father in heaven, and that they might do the same. Because we've made it in America, in our culture, there's so many challenges that other people see and catch on and do. And a lot of them are negative. There's a knockout challenge. You ever heard of that? Don't look it up. There's there was like a salvia challenge. Film yourself smoking salvia, losing your mind. Put it on the internet. Other people see it and do it. They're doing all this negative stuff, stealing people. Boonk. Y'all remember Boonk? Maybe. Some of the younger people might remember Boonk Gang. But he would film himself stealing from people. And other people would see it and catch on. They would see it and take, So hopefully this would do it. I seen a video where people were blessing a homeless person. I was like, you know what? I want to do one. So again, instead of making negative stuff popular, making negative stuff challenges, use it, and put it out there to encourage other people to do good deeds too. Pay it forward. It comes full circle. Christy Johnson says, when you gave him the money, he said he was going to use it to get him to Cali. Yeah, he was on a trip to California, and he was walking and hitchhiking. Police gave him rides. The police would pick him up off the interstate and bring him to the next exit. Christy says, the truth challenge is Allie's title. Do it, man. Let your good deeds shine before all men. But yeah, and I see your comments, and Brother Drew, man, I love you, bro. And man, you know what you got to do, bro. I don't even think you say you lost. If you lost, you can't. That means you can't see the way. You can't see the path. You know the path. You can't be lost if you've been on the path, because you know what it looks like. You know what was working. And if nothing else works, do what was working. It'll work. That's, again, we're talking about consciousness and the law and manifestation. Get back on that path, man. Do what you do. Stop doing the crap that ain't working. Simple as that. I know it's harder. Good. There's modalities in place. There's prayer in place. There's friends in place. There's confession in place. There's, spirituality in place to help you maintain and kind of get through and get back on and get shifted. The reset button is there. Not the power button to turn the power off, but the reset. Don't turn the game off, but reset it. And the reset button, Christy mentioned, psilocybin and things like that. There's different things, man. Change the way that you're looking at things. Get some goals, man. Do something. Drew, if you're still listening to this, you already know you have so much to offer. I hope you can see it, because I can see it. I'll give you the game plan. Sit down with me. Let's talk. Because I know what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm pretty sure that you know it too. So if you don't, sit down with me. I'll give you some stuff to do. and just do one thing a day. 25 days, you're there. Just do one thing a day. Send one email, create one graphic, do one podcast, do something. 25 days later, you're there, baby. I'm creating some modalities. I'm creating courses to really teach people this stuff. I know we talk about it and I give examples and I have my book and I have things, but I'm really wanting to like get down dirty with you guys and really give you a foolproof way for success to manifesting your desires, your dreams, how to birth them. Dreams are for those who are asleep, but you got to wake up. You have to bring it out of the dream state and manifest it. The signs and the symbols and all of it, you got to manifest it. And there's tricks to that. We talked about it for an hour with today's guest. A lot of that was about manifestation. A lot of that was about do's and don'ts. What works, positive thinking, affirmations, being intentional, being focused. Once you got your focus, and can't nothing take you from that. And you have to have the focus. Don't look for somebody else to have the focus. Once you're fully focused, you can make it happen. All things are possible for them that believe. What is those all things? It's different for each of us. My all things are different than yours. I have different things that I believe in. I have different things that I'm believing for. But all things are possible for them that believe. And there's a narrow path. There's a road to redemption to manifest this stuff, whatever it is that you want, whatever life it is. And especially if you've come this far, you can keep going. Manifest it, bring it to the table. Love you guys. I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here. Enjoyed the talk. Enjoyed working with Ron, talking to Ron. I really look to have him on again in the future. Really good talk, really good brother. And I'm flattered about how much he retained from my book and edified me with my book, my own book. I don't hear that a lot. Sometimes. Reset button. Drew, love you, man. Talk to me, bro. I'll help you. I can't do it for you, but I can help you. You can hire me to do some stuff. Like, I know nobody, not everybody, and people do. Like this, like a podcast. I want to see you doing it, man. I'm gonna give you the game plan for you to pay it forward and keep doing it. Drew is big business already. You got a story. You got videos out there with millions of views, bro. About you. I ain't got videos with millions of views about me. About you. Your story's been out there, dude. People already benefiting from it. Because they're benefiting from your story, what that does, Drew, is that it in a sense stores up treasures in heaven for you. And what we call that is the law of compensation. Because you've been giving, because you've had a generous heart, because you've been encouraging people, and you feed off of that. So like everything that I'm doing, you put in on this, what I'm doing. And then everybody who it's an MLM. It's multi-level marketing, because you have been such an encouragement to me in my life and being a friend and encouraged me to step out. And I'm doing this now. Everybody that I affect or infect, you share in that. You share in that harvest, because they wouldn't be getting it if it wasn't for you, and then for me, and then for them, and then so everybody they affect or infect. Sit in that in meditation. Understand that. Let that love lavish over you. Let that power of intention lavish over you, and there's nothing that you can't do. Because when you go to ask the Father, now when you tap in through meditation and know, it ain't like you coming as a beggar. Listen, man, you storing up for yourself treasures in heaven. Look, I got you. You just didn't ask for it. Dad's keys are right here. You just didn't ask for them. You can get it. I got other cars you don't know of. You just ain't asked for the keys. Let me show you. In the car is a vehicle to get you from where you are to where you need to go. And it's there. Many of them. You know several. You've drove several of them. But there's other ones that you don't know about. Be encouraged, Drew. And there's many Drews out there listening to this right now. Is what I'm saying. Love each and every one of you guys. And enjoyed this talk. Hope you guys do too. If you want to support my work, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Even with that, I believe you guys supporting me. I really do. I feel like you sharing the harvest. Sowing in the good ground. If you believe this is good ground, sowing in the good ground. What's something else that they call it? They call it not sowing anymore. There's another name for it. And trading. They trade into it. They want to buy stock in it. That's some terminology that a lot of people in Christendom are using. I want to trade into this. I want to buy stock in what you're doing, man. Because it's an investment. It's a spiritual investment. I want to sign up and give you $10 a month. I want to sign you because I know I'm getting it back. I know I'm getting it back. DDP will also encourage you to speak your story and can motivate people that all things are possible with hard work and dedication. I mean, that's big, bro. And you're part of that story. Love you, bro. Love everyone listening. God's got great things in store for you. Believe that. Don't settle for anything less. Peace and shalom. Love y'all.
Your will so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.